Hi friends, welcome once again to another little Q&A about what we've been discussing quite a bit on TikTok. So today's topic is naturally going to be me answering questions that I've received in my Instagram DMs or over email in regards to pornographic addiction, if porn is damaging, how to navigate that, emotional literacy, and then just other questions. So if you're interested, you can stick around because I've had quite a few messages saying just do some long form YouTube videos. So I was like, I do those anyway. So we're just gonna get into these topics once I find my phone and get the questions. So we'll start strong with pornographic addiction and all of that, and I'll give you some stories from my own life so that way I think importance of telling stories is people feel less alone when they hear other people doing the same things and going through the same things. If you hear some grating noises, there's construction happening across the park in someone's backyard, so we'll just go ahead and ignore that. Okay, so cheers and shout out to the person who referred to me as their trustworthy big internet sister. I do appreciate that. So first thing I'd like to say about porn is I don't think it's that rare. I think a lot of people, both male and female, have had some of their perceptions skewed by watching porn from a young age, okay? Also, it depends on the frequency. If you watched it a lot, it's obviously going to affect you in a certain manner. So I'll start with this story. And let me know if this is familiar. When I was in university, my very good friend moved to another city for school and I went to go visit her. And she had her roommate enter into a relationship. And at that time, because this young man had moved out, he went a little bit crazy because it's the first time he had his privacy. And he went down the rabbit hole of watching pornography, okay? I'm not demonizing anything, I'm just saying everything in moderation, okay? The way French people see food, to some extent life, I suppose is the way I would approach this. In any case, they entered into a relationship for the first year, so they're 18. By the time they were 19, they were living together, and he started coming out less and less. By the time they were 20, he rarely ever went out when, people went clubbing or to bars. I'd never met this person because he was never out. And the reason was he got so into watching porn that by the time, his girlfriend and their group of friends would go out, even if someone came in from out of town, they had, no interest in meeting anybody else because they were like, oh, joy, my girlfriend won't be home. I get to, watch this and go wild. And because I guess she was so young, she knew about it. She knew everything, right? But she was like, oh, just let him do his thing. It's his thing. She didn't also, this was a long time ago, time is relative, but whatever. We didn't really talk about this that much in social spaces like the internet because we didn't have apps. It wasn't as connected. But I'm sure academics or whatever knew about it, right? So anyways, he was really into porn that was really aggressive, excessive, I suppose, in that he was really into pain and anal sex and really aggressive things like that, okay? I won't name the websites because I don't want to endorse anything, but that was his thing. And it got to the point where he would literally, anytime she would go out on the weekends or if she had a class during the morning and he just couldn't wait to be left alone and do that. So at the time I was like, wow, that sounds really boring. Imagine being that young, having a beautiful young girlfriend that you live with, which a lot of people can't afford to live with, someone on their own. And even if they could, they have to actually find someone they want to live with. I was like, he lucked out on every front, and this is what he's choosing to do. But it's he couldn't help it. It was just the only thing he looked forward to. And I remember thinking, how's that going to work in 10 years when you want a wife and kids? Well, now I have an answer because it's been more than 10 years. It doesn't. It doesn't work. So you have to find boundaries within relationships in regards to things like this. So I know that now conversations people weren't really having 15 years ago, they're having now, which is I only watch it when I'm single. When I'm in a relationship, it's considered cheating. So you have to, everyone's different, everyone's needs are different. You have to create different boundaries every time you enter into a relationship. You have non-negotiables, then you have things you can negotiate. So even if your partner is cool with it, here's the question. If you continue down that path, because what happened to them eventually within 2 years, and also I'm not judging, but if you're 19, 20, and you don't want to do the deed, it's because like when I was growing up, that's like the greatest thing anybody ever talked about, that like you got to do it, you know? And now it's like, oh no, I'd rather stay at home and like do it myself, because watching this is way more exciting, you know? So it was just sort of interesting, because it's like they just had a sexless relationship. And if that passion dies within the first couple of years, it's you know, you wonder what's gonna happen for the rest of your life, really. So now that it's been, you know, like a decade and a half or more-ish, is it? Yes, more. Yes, it has. There is more and more people that I speak to, you know, through this work. People messaging me. For those that don't know, I'm an astrologer, and on my disclaimer, I say after a reading, you can talk to me about it. You can talk about it, but I never will. This is one of the reasons people, you know, people come to me or to anybody that they trust, or people with profiles, because you know you're not gonna say anything. So if you message me, I just want to say I'm not gonna be like their handle, you know, da 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 da, it's Twitter or whatever, right? Is one thing to know. People come to me that I don't know, but also people that I do know. People I've known for a long time, new people that I meet. It just seems to be so common for people to say, mostly for me, it's going to be women, right? They're going to say, I met this great guy, or I've been with my partner for 4 months, for 10 years. And they're like, yeah, we just like don't really do it, because when he was younger, he watched so much of it. He got so used to masturbation that he can't really get it up, or he can't finish this way. He can have sex with me, but he can't finish this way. He has to finish himself off because of years of just getting so visually stimulated. It like wired them a certain way. I'm assuming, I'm not exact, okay? I'm not a professional. There's professionals that like deal in this, and I would really encourage you know, men that have made a difference. I think, don't quote me on it, I think Terry Crews has openly spoken about his porn addiction and like how it nearly ruined his marriage. But men that have like gone on and said like, oh my God, this used to be me, and this is what you do, this is how you get better, this is how it feels. Like, you're not alone. That's the first thing I would say is like, I know a lot of people tend to feel shame around intimate subjects, but see, there's that noise. You're not alone, okay? It's like whatever plagues you is gonna plague hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. So that's the first thing. And another thing too is it not necessarily like porn related, okay? So sometimes with age or hormones, or you get put on a medication for one thing, and a really inadvertent side effect is going to be that, okay? So it's like through no fault of anyone, all right? So just, I'm trying to like, that's just like dissemble shame. It's such like a useless emotion to have. Animals, I'm watching all these squirrels run around stuffing their faces. They don't feel shame. Animals don't feel shame. We should do better. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a spiritual video. It's called Singular Consciousness versus Dual Consciousness, but whatever. Okay, so that's the first thing. Secondly, things that come up around that, as we know, like sex is mostly mental. And dudes will say, I'm really worried, like with the girl, and it's like a slip. They don't mean to say it. It's like, oh, but my performance. I can promise you, if you're like 18 or like 25, the ladies that you're courting, I imagine an extremely tiny percentage is like, oh, the first time I want to be chucked across the room like a wrestler and like pounced on. Like, trust me, that's not real life, okay? Someone said men seek intimacy through sex, women have sex because they feel like it's intimate or something to that effect, okay? So I think the key here is to understand, to take that pressure off yourself. Really, no one's putting it on you. It's not to be like dismissive, like you're doing it to yourself, but like just talk yourself down from it and say, you know what? Someone actually left a comment on some video, it wasn't mine, but they said something like, I've known women who have, in capitals, folded for men who are not their type at all because they were nice to them, okay? I'm not telling you like, be nice to girls and scam them, but I mean like, if you treat someone really nicely, trust me, that's not, they're into you because of how you treat them. They're not gonna be into you as a person because of how you perform in the bedroom, right? That's the enhancement of the connection that you have. That's not what your connection is rooted upon, okay? Because that's not sustainable. Like I said, you'll get old, you might be injured, you might move away, you might be tired, so what's tying you together, right? It's a glue to an existing partnership, right? Something like that, okay? I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty because it'll be like a 2-hour video, but there's always someone who's like, but you said, it's like, just use logic, okay? Like, obviously, we're just, wrap it up, we're going as fast as we can. Okay, so that's the thing I want to mention is just don't be so hard on yourselves, don't be so critical. If you you know, have confirmation that you're really interested in the other person, they're really interested in you, then they're happy to like be in your presence in that sacred space. You don't enter into that with the hopes of like winning an Oscar or a Razzie or was a Saturn award or something. Okay, you're going there to you know, flow some love and have love flowed back to you. Okay, so that's like the beauty of life. Excuse me. Just try to remember a saving grace here is that we don't see this the same way, and that's actually very helpful. If you can seek help, I encourage you to do it, because as we know, long-term effects are a distortion of reality. Like your perception is completely distorted in regards to intimacy, in regards to what people want, and of course the scary part of like dehumanizing women, which unfortunately happens a lot. If you went through the comment section of this unexpected video that I feel like I make content that's pretty like reasonable and no one cares. It's always the thing I least expect to get some views, gets views. So this got a lot of comments, a lot of views, and I feel really sadly that a lot of people really like missed the point. They took it as an attack and they started just to say really out of pocket, wild stuff. Okay, so here goes. Here's the next. So that's, if you feel like you're struggling with that, remember you're not alone. There's a lot of people. We will talk about it more, because I don't think it's very rare, and it's generational, okay? So you cannot be the only one, all right? And for whatever it's worth, I was a young lady once, and I can promise you that I wasn't looking for that. I wasn't looking for some like exaggerated version of what's on those websites. I just wasn't. I was looking for someone to be decent and kind and fun and caring, okay? And you're gonna, like, the amount of time you spend having intercourse in your life is a tiny percentage compared to all the other things you're gonna do in your life. And this includes a relationship, okay? You're gonna spend most of your time breaking bread, going for walks, dealing with life's problems, okay? Dealing with life's joys and celebrations, challenges. There's highs and lows, okay? That's something to just consider. Just take that pressure off yourself as best as you can. Okay. Oh, look at this. Just when if what you're saying is true, why is it men who are not having sex and not women? I did say, and I don't expect everyone, I made a playlist called Sex and Society. I don't expect everyone to go watch like 30, 40 videos that are in there on TikTok, but I said in one of them, I mean, if they say a third of this demographic isn't doing it, I imagine that women aren't doing it either, because who else, if you're heterosexuals, who else would you be doing it with, you know? Anyway, that was lost on a lot of people. But another thing to understand, okay, this person really missed the mark, like in a sad way. Your takes all ignore the fact that it's men, not women, that are having less sex. Well, we just answered that, didn't we? It's also women that don't get a lot of sex don't tend to complain that much. I mean, they can feel frustrated. They can feel like, oh, I really wish, you know, I just like, whoa. But the point of that statistic in that podcast was it was a very niche group of people who then go on to do extreme things. And there's very few records of women being the cause of mass violence in society, okay? And then someone replied, that's because women aren't allowing the men to have sex with them. LMAO. Yeah, it's so funny. Right? Right. So the claim that intimacy is what's missing is laughably false, which means, again, this person missed absolutely everything, right? Intimacy is a part of sex. To divorce the two is ridiculous, because even if young men or older men, any woman, any person, doesn't really matter, had sex with no intimacy, no emotional connection or consideration, politeness, it wouldn't make them feel better. They would still think, oh, this is another tool that this sex is using to use me or oppress me or coerce me, right? So this is what I'm saying. People are very multifaceted, they're complicated, they're diverse, you know. So you have to honor all those things about a person within this activity, yes? Okay. So, yes, again, more of the same. casual sex can definitely be healthy, but not healthy when there are no obligations involved. Right. So again, if we're going to consider something like casual sex, the funny thing to me about casual sex is like so many people think, oh, it's casual. I don't have to be concerned for your safety. I don't have to ask if you got home safely. I don't have to ask your name. It's like you can still treat someone like a human being. Sorry, it's so funny to me. I don't know why people think it's cool to be cold and dismissive and then wonder and go, oh, I ponder so hard. I'm trying so hard. Why don't people know anything about me? I've been in so many of them, or I've been with so many of them. It's like, have you bothered? Have you bothered to try? Have you bothered to ask? Okay, so, and then another thing on that topic is people are like, I don't objectify women. I don't commodify them. Women is people too, but if you want sex, just pay for it. Just legalize prostitution. Again, you're missing the point of intimacy. You can go to a prostitute. Sure, if it's legal or whatever, okay, whatever. But long term, it will not satisfy. Just like we open this video with porn, okay? In the meantime, it might hold you over somehow, but long term, you're left out. You're feeling empty because you're only fulfilling a physical desire. The reason that this statistic was based on, or this gentleman who was speaking in that podcast was saying, you're emotionally underdeveloped. You are emotionally illiterate. You don't know how to have relationships, okay? You can know how to have sex, it doesn't mean you know how to have relationships, all right? I'm gonna do a separate video and series on romantic literacy and relationship literacy. This means, be aware, some people are very well spoken, they're very charming, they're very intelligent, and they can be well-meaning. They don't really know what they're doing sometimes, okay? Or they're not very mature. They're not really they're not a marinated human being. They're immature. You can be immature in your 50s. You can be 15 until you're 50. I don't care if you're a man or woman, okay? This is like a mental game. Life is a game anyways. You can know how to say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done, but never really be there, okay? Only doing it for the wrong reasons. So you can be like relationally literate, so you know what to say and do to get sex from a woman, to get something from a man, whatever, right? But not really mean it. So I'm not gonna come on here and be like, this is how you say it, this is what you do, because we already have a rampant pandemic of that. People knowing how to be charming, how to make you feel special, and then when they get what they want, they go running for the hills, and you're like, but you said, it's like, oh, they didn't mean it, you know, so we're not gonna get into that. But to be truly like romantically literate and mature is the perfect combination of all those things, right? Another thing to remember that I'm seeing a lot in the comments, which I don't really favor, is to get something without giving. This defies law, it defies universal law, and I know some people in the comments are like, you sound like a conservative, you sound like God, you love God, like it's the worst thing in the world. So I'm allowed to love porn, I'm allowed to love raging hard-ons, like, I don't know if I love South Park, they're like the Hardly Boys, they're like, I'm getting a raging clue, like you're allowed to love all of that stuff, but God forbid you have like a natural moral compass. All human beings do, you know? It's so funny to me. Oh my God, dog walkers, that is so crazy. There's 10 dogs. They're so cute. It's so cute. Anyway, so you're allowed to have spiritual language and emotional language about physical intimacy without needing a reason to. Okay, so I don't have to be Mormon, Catholic, Muslim, Jewish. I don't have to be anything to take sex seriously. Does that make sense? Because that's allowed. Because as long as you live and breathe and you have a pulse, and okay, you're allowed to have a moral compass. This also doesn't make sense because it also kind of implies like if you're an atheist, you don't value anything and you have no morals, which is like so wrong, okay? It's crazy because people have done crazy things in the name of God and holiness, okay? So let's think a little bit broader. Let's approach things with more compassion. I think life is hard for everyone. and to, like I said, stop with the finger pointing, stop with the blaming, stop with the assuming that only your experience is valid and your experience is the only one that matters and the only one that's correct. And that's exactly what I'm getting. But it's funny, it's like you're projecting again, you know, your level of understanding, which is fine, but you also have to make room for other people's level of understanding. There's people who disagree with me. I don't take offense because I've always had a strong personality, and I know, you know, I've had like a bittersweet life. So I'm like, oh, they're only saying what makes sense to them, just like I do. And we're all allowed to, okay? So you don't have to be religious or culturally conservative to take sex seriously. You can be born and raised in the West with, you know, Western values and principles that are liberal and still decide that is not for me. I've had men in the comments, more than one, plural, say sex is for marriage. I will wait, I don't care how long it takes, I will wait, sex is for marriage. And they're not like 18, okay? They were like 27 and 32 or something. And I'm like, good for you, because you thought for yourself. That's all I'm saying, you know? So yeah, you don't need like a shield to say, oh, you know what, in my culture we don't do that. That's why I'm absolved from the responsibility of having to participate. No, you can just not participate. And I give a lot of, like, if you come to the TikTok lives, not that it makes a difference if I go from 13 to 14 viewers, literally, on a good day, okay? But because I say that all the time, I was like, I used to get ripped on so hard, okay? Like when Sex and the City came out, and I just remember saying, I don't want to do what these women do. I don't think it's cool. I'm not judging them. I don't care. But I would always be judged. And I swear to God, I can't tell you how many times, like when you're young and you're going out, dudes are like, don't you want to have fun? She's the lame one. And they like make a scene at a house party, and your pick-me friends are like, nee, she really is. She's like a nun. Go live in a convent. I fucking would if I could. Because you are just like too much, you know? But like I was always like, that's not like I think Julia Fox in an interview recently said, it's not thrilling to me. It's not thrilling to me. It's not thrilling to me to go home and get poked by someone who doesn't like treat me like a human being or know me or make me laugh. It's like, that's just not for me, okay? And this is what I mean. Like, some people are really mental. I'm one of them. Some people are really emotional. Some people are really romantic. Some people are really playful and lighthearted and fun. Some people are have incredible, what's it called, like physicality, like they have incredible like physiological intelligence, like they understand how to move through space and time, like they're good dancers or athletes, or they're in the army, or they're cops or something, okay? So I'm like, or they're runners. And for them, that's just like a very straightforward act. For them, some of them, okay, in some capacity. For other people, it's not. Maybe they're shy, maybe they're anxious. So that's all I'm saying is like, leave scope. Other people's experiences are valid. Don't assume just because that's your worldview, it's the only one and it's the right one. It's like, no. And we could be, you know, very, very similar in many ways, but in this way, if I'm different to you, I'm not wrong. And I'm not like boring, or like, maybe I am to some people. What do I care? At the end of the day, kiss my ass. Like, what do I care? You know what I mean? No one should care. You shouldn't care. No one should dictate to you what you do in the privacy of your home. This is what I find absolutely insane. I find this absolutely crazy. But yeah, and then the entitlement aspect, people got to like, not all men. It's like, I never said all men. I didn't say that. When did I say that? But by lashing out, you like prove the point. That is a little bit crazy. Being like, someone even said, something to the effect of like, what does it matter what she thinks? A woman is just a hole. And you just prove the point, right? Or if that case, if a hole's a hole, fuck you, buddy, a pole's a pole, right? So just like grow up, like just, and important not to be reactive. And I mean this for everybody, wherever you are in the world, do not react, okay? Because, I mean, I just did, but like, you know what I mean? It's like, all of this stuff I keep saying is like so online behavior, and it really is. It really is. Like debating statistics, abortions. I mean, one guy made me laugh really hard. He said, I want to have kids. I'm so sick of women. I want to have kids, not abortions. And I thought, what? Do you think women just walk around with like a subscription punch card to their abortion clinics? And if they hit 10, they get one for free, or they get like a latte with holiday sprinkles. Like, you're reading this on the internet, okay? This is not how the world works. This is not how the world works, okay? So I just encourage everyone to kind of think like, I remember what's shown on media is mostly going to be the most extreme of something. It just is. It just really is at the end of the day. There's more people who think alike than anything else, okay? We are mammals, we're social mammals at the end of the day. The science of how information travels through people doesn't really shift, you know? So like my clientele mostly comes through people who refer them, because they find me, they like me, they trust me, they refer 2-3 people. Okay, like 10% of people will find me online. The other 90% comes through those 10%. So I see this every single day. Even today, every single day. So if you see something online, it doesn't have direct effect to you. It doesn't really have direct effect to you. Unless you're in the video or someone's addressing you in that video or something, okay? It's not real, okay? I don't want to get into it. I'm like, it's the Matrix, we're in the simulation, man, and just like go off the rails, but I have other videos dedicated to that. So, I mean, you do create your own reality. This is what I believe. And if you create a reality that paints you as a victim, why would you do that to yourself? And I don't appreciate comments where they say women are always victimizing each other. Someone said today, that actually did make me laugh, like, this is the worst kind of video, other women agreeing with each other. I was like, you just, all I read was victim, perma-victim, right? And then women do it too, and men do it too. So as soon as you recognize that, if you have good pattern recognition skills, you can laugh about it and you can just step back and go, oh, I don't have to fall into that category. That might be true. It doesn't have to apply to me. I have control over my life. I have circumstances I can control, okay? And I'll wrap this up by saying, you know what's more important than having sex? Having good sex, okay? So, yeah, people say you can just go and get it, you can just find it, but you'll come to find if it doesn't please you, and the sole aim of that, in your opinion, is pleasure, then you have to rope in another factor like intimacy, like romance, like emotional tenderness, asking them about their day, being sweet, being thoughtful, being kind, being considerate, being playful, having fun, being joyful, okay? But yeah, I think those things unfold with time. So whoever sees this, I hope it helps as always. I love you all very much. Thank you for being here and thank you for interacting. I thank you for your viewership. I truly think, I'm getting emotional, but I truly thank you for your trust, because it's so ironic to me. In the age of information, never has there been more misinformation. And in the age where we are marketed, everything that we buy and own is meant to bring us closer together, have we never felt less close to each other, which I think is really sad. And I really hope that we can use technology to bridge those things, okay? So thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye for now.